My MO, I'm steady fighting failure. Remember where I was at when Tower 7 fell? I don't think that was a danger to mankind, and now they face a hell in a cell. Going to see the Undertaker if it's a chance that he tell.
Lord permitted, God permitted, whatever you believe in. Still here with JT Riddick, and of course Supa Nitro, also known as, or reverse order, because he's older, Supa Nitro, JT Riddick, the Brooklyn Dynasty.
That's what I'm talking
about. Any W knows because they're the current reigning, defending, undefeated, by the way, tag team champs. And for as long as the pandemic continues, if it stretches out, God forbid, any longer than this, they're still going to be undefeated. So now they're building up a streak, a la New Day.
Exactly. We will be the first. We're the first tag team champions, and we're gonna be the first to hold it for as long as we've been holding it.
And we're gonna create that next title, the longest reigning tag team champions in any W history.
And like I mentioned with Nitro on the last episode, I guess quote unquote shout outs to them, but just briefly mentioning, streaks. You got the BX Strong. They do their thing as far as IG is concerned, posting every day the number of days they've held their titles for. But like I was telling Nitro, you guys are both from Brooklyn. Let's just be honest, as far as the New York City public school system is concerned, it's not the best, but it gets you through, I guess, at least enough to get you out of college, out of high school, hopefully.
Exactly.
And you're doing it because in the Bronx, they can only count so high, and they had to do it as a daily reminder. Okay, there's 45. There's 46.
I ran out of fingers. Put your hand up. It's 7, 8, 9. All right.
This was sticking time around my toes now. But
you said it, not us.
Yeah, exactly. Those are my views and opinions solely of BX Strong. They do their thing, that's fine. But it'll be nice to see once you two bump heads with each other and how much the trash talking commences.
Oh, that would be nice.
Not to, hey, we've been longer champions than them two been combined as their 2 BWF title rings.
Good point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens when you're 2 times better than them. I'm sorry. Let's proceed with the.
Exactly, but the main focus of today's episode again is Taker talk, Taker or leave it, because WrestleMania 36 came and went. The hot topic, per se, would be of day one, the main event, the Boneyard match, which we had no clue at least what kind of match we were going to get. They didn't lead into it. They didn't hint at it even. AJ just said randomly, I want to challenge you to a Boneyard match, Mark. And I don't want Mark, I want Taker. At his best, which, we haven't seen for a while, honest opinion. As a fan of Taker from when he started till now.
Yeah. WrestleMania 29 was like his last good one.
Was that the one with Punk, I think?
Yeah, with Punk.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was
I
his
still like
last one.
28, actually. The Hell in a Cell with Triple H.
Yeah, that was good too.
But as I'm saying, like those were the good ones, 28 and 29. Then from 30 on, it's already been 7 years.
That's it. It was like, that's when it was like, Taker, you got to hang it up.
Yeah,
because supposedly he had a concussion when he went up against Brock. I think personally, if it wasn't for the concussion, he would have performed a lot better. Because I remember, bro, we was watching the match and I was kind of falling asleep. I'm like, why this match seems so boring? And then it was
Taker seemed a big step slow.
Yeah,
I have to watch that back because I don't remember the flow of the match. I think it was just on in the background at that point. I was looking forward to DB at that point, just taking it home. So I know is I remember I woke up at 1, I think.
See, so yeah, we was watching it and it just was like, it was dragging, and after a while, it was like the only moment was when Taker got pinned and he lost. That's when we was like, oh shoot, he lost.
Yeah, WrestleMania, like I said, WrestleMania moment.
That's it. But it sucks. The match was terrible. I feel personally if maybe Taker was on his A game that night, I feel he would have performed better. Just like how he did a year later when he fought Brock Lesnar in SummerSlam in 2015. That was the match we should have gotten. That's why I was like, this is the match we should have got. Why, Yeah, but of course, again, he was hurt. That's why he performed the way he did. But when he came back, it was like he was on a mission. Because when he came back, he was like, "I'm gonna give y'all the match that I should have given y'all a year
Should have given
prior."
that Mania. Yeah.
That's
And
crazy
even at the Hell in a Cell,
I'm sorry, Rancho. I'm sorry.
no, I'm saying even the Hell in a Cell match, their last encounter, that was still great. That was basically those two matches, SummerSlam and Hell in a Cell, were literally great together compared to WrestleMania. WrestleMania was literally at the bottom of the barrel of their matches. Even their matches from 10 years ago or 12 years ago prior at that time, when they fought each other in Hell in a Cell in 2002, that match was good. Like that WrestleMania 30 match will forever just be at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to them two matches, because it was even at that point when I thought Taker and Brock didn't really like each other, because like Taker had this look like, I hate you.
Just buying into it, yeah. But
yeah,
I don't know. It kind of brings up the topic then. Should Brock have been the one to break the streak then? Or if ever?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna just completely chime in off rip. No. Hell no. Reason being, I think something like Taker. Well, the thing with wrestling, to my opinion, is whoever ends something is who you're passing the torch to. And
yes,
Lesnar is not the guy for Taker to pass the torch to. They're two completely different gimmicks. It's like if Lesnar didn't, I'm gonna say it, wipe his ass and shit on the WWE the way he did back in 2004. I'm sorry, 2004. If he would have did his career the correct way, that's just my opinion. A guy like that could retire your Kurt Angle, because Kurt Angle and him are basically like cut from the same cloth as far as their style. They're both amateur wrestlers. They did that, so on and so forth. So that's something like that. Someone like Taker, the streak was broken in 2000. WrestleMania 30 is what, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
2014, right?
Yeah.
14, yeah, 2014. So if I can't answer who should have broken it if we're talking about back in 2014, but we just discussed this, but for the fans to see, I say the person who's the most worthy, who should have broken the streak, is Bray Wyatt, because that's him passing the torch to him. Like Bray Wyatt is the closest thing we're gonna have to like Undertaker in this day and age. Even now with him doing his Fiend gimmick, because that's just my personal opinion. I mean, granted, the chips doesn't always, the stars doesn't always align. The chips doesn't always fall where you gonna have that guy. Because it's like, how many gimmicks are inspired by Taker and they work? So we don't. But I just feel like someone like, maybe he respected Brock, and because we know they have a good relationship. Taker was at all his UFC fights and so on and so forth, so that they get along well. But I just feel like that wasn't the guy to really do it. I mean, because I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry to cut you off, because you could continue. It's just that, to chime in on that, like you said, gimmick-wise, Bray Wyatt. But I guess, too, to build Brock Lesnar at that time, it was like, all right, Brock Lesnar, because they want to show that, damn, he beat The Undertaker, so he could destroy everybody. Because then after that, remember, the reign and terror of Brock Lesnar began from there. Because remember, prior to that, the man lost to Triple H a year prior. So it's like, you lose to Triple H, and then you beat Undertaker the following year. Triple H couldn't beat The Undertaker, not even in Undertaker, not even in his favorite game, just like Undertaker's the Hell in a Cell. Yeah. But you beat, you know what I'm saying? You lost to Triple H. You lost to Triple H. Triple H couldn't beat Taker, but Triple H can beat you. And you're more of a monster than Brock, you're more of a monster than Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? You're more of a beast. But Triple H had the formula to beat you, versus he couldn't beat The Undertaker, but you can beat that. It was just, that's what I was thinking at that time, too. And even now, I'm like, so what? But I guess off the strength of a build-up, it's like, all right, we're going to make Brock look like a monster. So, yeah, we're going to have him basically, is off the strength of just destroying. So, yeah, we'll destroy him. I don't think it was thinking of a passing the torch. They were just thinking of, we need somebody to look strong, and Brock is the guy. So, yeah, if he beats Taker, he could beat, it's like, okay, now he's somebody to not to be reckoned with.
Yeah,
So
and it kinda,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go.
Oh, my question. Who was where was Seth Rollins at the time? Where was he at in his career? Was they still Shield, or did they already break up?
I
No,
think
they were still
you had a
Shield. They broke
match, right?
in 2014.
Okay, so
Yeah,
then that one
remember?
worked. That one.
Yeah, because remember, Daniel Bryan won 2014. The Shield was still together. The Shield went up against Evolution that year, and that's when Batista left, like mid
Oh,
2014.
that's right. That's
So
right.
So
WrestleMania 30. Yeah.
so so basically the Shield was still doing their own thing, and Seth was basically parted ways with them in 2000, basically mid 2014 summer. So that's when Seth became Seth, obviously, and that's when the Shield started to do their own thing. So by 2015, that's when you have Roman Reigns, et cetera, et cetera. And remember the Seth Rollins beat he ran in with the Money in the Bank and cashed it in and beat Roman and Brock, which he technically didn't pin Brock, he just beat Roman.
Yeah.
Right.
So then to answer the question, like booking wise, if I was the guy in the back with the pin in my hand and I would basically Taker was not losing that streak at that year. I would basically search the whole, because like I said, either it's gimmick, or if you're trying to push someone to the moon and you want that thing to solidify them, because the reality of it is like what makes sense is another streak, so because you give that to someone else. So like why I asked about Seth Rollins, because I just they kept reporting that like Seth Rollins was undefeated at Mania which is false, because Randy beat him. I think like last year or whatever year he beat him. But
Yeah.
if you had a guy who you was like, oh shoot, this guy's been undefeated at Mania. It was 15 he beat him?
Yeah, when he RKO'd Scott from the Sky High.
Yeah, okay then. So, but basically, it's like you see somebody. I just feel like Taker. I get sometimes they like living in the moment, but I'm like Taker is too big of a it's the freaking Undertaker. You need to plan out for like a year who's gonna beat him and why, and it's pretty much like no different than like, hey, you're gonna beat Taker, you're gonna end the streak, and now you're gonna be the guy, because it's kind of like I said before, it's like Lesnar, regardless of what, say which one, the man was already established. So it's like, what more do you mean to push him to the sky? The guy, he built himself the best way because he left while he was still on top. That's like winning championships in a sport and then retiring when you still can go. People are already gonna adore you because they're like, oh man, you did all this greatness. So someone to retire, to retire Undertaker has to be like, to my opinion, a peer, or who, let's say, you can say replaced him, like, i.e., Shawn with Ric Flair. Even though Shawn is not like the new Ric Flair, because he wasn't really. He was in his own way, because he was still flashy. For God's sakes, the guy who sung his own entrance theme. How much more fully self, how much more narcissistic can you be than that? So it's kind of like he did it in his own way. So it's like, okay, that was the perfect guy to do that. So that's why I said, to my opinion, the perfect, like, if Angle was ever going to have like a retirement match, that's when it should have been against Lesnar. That's somebody who did that, because even though they came up somewhat together, because Lesnar debuted damn near with only 3 years after Angle, but at least their names are tied together. So for Taker, I'm like, yeah, I would have. You got to find somebody that's.
But you know what though? You know what it is though? Taker, he didn't. That's why he kept coming back after. He didn't want to be known as just the streak. Which kind of contradicts that, because I'm like, that's the only time he was coming back for the streak.
Yeah, or maybe a SummerSlam or two.
Yeah, but it wasn't like he was mainly continuously trying to come back just in general. Like WrestleMania, so he didn't want to be known as just a streak, coming back for a streak. So that's why he lost, and that's why he was coming. That's why he continuously kept coming back, because it was like, all right, I just want to come back with my skills. And I'm like, but what's so messed up is that by then the skills plummet a little bit, because then you start.
Yeah, of course. You fall the times undefeated. Whether he gets you later than some, he's still gonna get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it was. Like he didn't want to be. It's so funny, like how he didn't want to be remembered for only the streak. I'm like, but then you started coming. It's like it's like the whole like I still like you said, I still got it, but it's like, but bro, like, hey
Do
man,
you
listen,
really?
you did enough. It's okay. You can hang it up. Like he could have had one if he wanted to. He could have had one more match. And what's so messed up is that the two matches that he lost in WrestleMania were the shittiest. Was one with Brock and the other one was Roman. Those matches were terrible. The one with Roman was just as bad as against him and Brock. I was like, what am I watching here? Like, what am I watching? Like that match was just terrible because like, first of all, Roman couldn't reverse Taker's like how when Taker reverses the tombstone, like he'll if you're trying to catch him, he'll catch you.
He leans back and then
Roman fell on that.
Oh, you bridge and catch him. Roman needs to work his core.
Roman fell on that one. Like that match was just terrible. It was terrible. I mean, it was better than him and Goldberg though, believe it or not, it was, but it still was bad. Goldberg versus Undertaker, literally 15, 20 years too late. They waited too long.
Oh my God, yeah. And that's why, like I said, man, I'm like, with these, oh man, sometimes some of these things don't need to happen because it's kind of like it's too late. Time passed. That's like I said, I'm a Knicks fan. I'm gonna keep using Knicks analogy. I'm a Knicks fan. That's like the Knicks signing LeBron James in the next 3 years to a 4-year, $100 million. It's like, what the hell are you doing? He's like you. Why? Whoa! We are 14 years too late for that one. So same thing with some of these matches. It's like, like we all can mark for nostalgia purpose, but if a guy can't even bump because he's that hurt, he's that broken, it's like I feel as speaking as a wrestler, I'm not at that. I'm still lucky. I'm still blessed. My body I can still work a match. I can still work anywhere from a half an hour to an hour match. I'm still got to work on my cardio quarantine. Haven't been running a lot, but but I'm still blessed to work that. My body still has yet to betray me. But just as a fan, also, I would feel bad cheating my fans to that because hey, if the man above blessed us to have this very, 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 where we got stadiums chanting our names, I would feel bad cheating those people out and giving them like a match where they're like, damn, man, I remember Riddick back in the day. Because I would feel bad. And it's like, yourself, if those bumps are hurting more, if you're a step or 2 or 3 slower, those things. So you would want it. That's when you was like, hey, it's more for the fans. Like, I got to hang it up.
Yeah, that's why, like you said, like for the fast-paced wrestlers, like the real 100-mile-per-hour wrestlers, you see it mainly on them because like.
Oh yeah. That's like same thing. Like I said with sports, that's like your ball players who are your big dunkers and all those stuff. They retire soon, not retire. Their game changed a lot faster because them knees then took like 4 or 5 years of beatings from them jumping so many times. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I said. Those fast-paced wrestlers who got like running 120 miles per hour. They're the ones that's going to suffer more.
I was gonna just chime in. What you said really made sense, Riddick, because in the sense of Brock, he should have been the immediate one to, let's say, retire Angle or take over his mantle. Just in the sense of
exactly.
Whatever they did in their past, that would have made kayfabe more sense.
Yeah.
Fiend taking over Taker would have been the more obvious choice, especially now because Taker's only getting older. Mm-hmm. He's only getting slower. He takes a whole year to work out for just one match, and even that match is kind of like pushing it.
Yeah.
Last year was
and that's crazy.
Last year was the Cena match, or
which one?
Was last year was. No, last year was.
Oh no, he wasn't there last year.
No, he didn't. He didn't wrestle last year. He didn't wrestle last year. It was the year before.
He wasn't there in a match, right? The year before, 34. That was Cena. Well, they had that whole dumb buildup about will he not challenge him? Will he accept or not? Yeah. He came out, did 3 minutes, I think. Big boot, leg drop. No, that's Hogan. I'm sorry. Big boot, and then I think did he hit a tombstone or not? I don't even remember.
He did do a tombstone, I think, and then he beat Cena. I'm like, wow, that's a worse squash for Cena than when he squashed to Brock Lesnar in SummerSlam of 2012, I think.
And that's what I'm saying. Like for Lesnar, I'm like, Lesnar, you squashed. Basically the successor of The Rock in Austin. So for you to squash him, there is no more building you up. So that's why I said that. That to me, I think that's like a cheap cop of like it frustrates me sometimes with if that's what they're selling us, is the fact that like when as fans WWE likes to play with our intelligence as if like we don't, for the smart fans, like you don't know booking, you don't know all this stuff. Like there are some things that just doesn't make sense. So it's like, how are you trying to shoot this guy to the moon when you already did? So like that doesn't make any sense. That's what I said so to answer the initial question, Brock should not in no way, shape, or form have ended the streak, and I've explained why. And if anyone was going to try, if someone had to end the streak in 2014 for WrestleMania 30, I would have said, no, Taker, you sorry, whether you like it or not, you're going over, because no one's, your streak is that important that there isn't anyone worthy enough to end it. That makes sense. That it actually would make sense.
Well, you know how I would have, like you said, like say if because obviously we want to build Brock, right? So or like you said, to make him look strong. So how we would have probably did it was we could have put it that Taker barely won. We could have made it that they basically.
That makes even more sense. Yeah.
Like
it took like 5 Brock, tombstones and
something.
Now and then if we don't want Brock to basically lose in that fashion, then we can do it the cheaper way. Then, like you said, beat each other to a pulp, and there's a last man count standing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
pretty much.
They count in 1, 2,
9.
and
Taker shoots up 10, and then he falls back out.
Exactly.
Basically, that's showing like he won out of a count out, just showing how strong Brock Lesnar is. So it makes Brock Lesnar still look strong because he didn't get pinned. He just got counted out, but Undertaker barely even stood up by 10. He's just shaking like 10, and he literally just made it to his foot and drop again. That would have been a good build-up because nobody would have lost on that one. It would have still kept Taker streak alive and would have still made Brock look strong because, like, damn, he almost took Undertaker's streak.
Taker streak, yeah. Exactly.
Just missed
but then people still would have been upset. But people still would have been upset if, let's just say, Bray Wyatt did it, because they would have been like, oh, how you let Bray win and you didn't let Brock win? You know what I'm saying? People are not going to think on it from a booking standpoint. People are going to look at it from like you said, strongman type standpoint. Like,
but but the thing about it too, though, you gotta. But see, and I'll argue any fan till I'm blue in the face, where it's like it depends on booking. So if I'm booking this match, right, I'm like, all right, hey guys, we're gonna book this match. What we're gonna do is we're gonna we're gonna book it to the most common time we start booking this thing. We're gonna book it from Survivor Series, your WWE birthday. So, where Bray would throw a subliminal shot. He throws a shot, and then it's like, okay, he got the attention going. It's like, why has he got the Undertaker? Why is Bray Wyatt aiming at the Undertaker? Then the most common shit. Taker comes out. Taker comes out to the Rumble. He goes in. That's if his body can do it, because we all know his body's so broken down. We don't know how well he can take bumps. But anyway, he goes out, and Bray's music hit. Taker looks. He gets eliminated. Because at the end of the day, what we're selling is Taker's getting older. He's getting older, so that makes him more weaker. And then even if you really want to get so into this, the loss of Paul Bearer or something, like you could say SummerSlam. Let's say Bray Wyatt destroyed, because he's another person who's with the supernatural stuff. So let's say Survivor Series, he destroys the urn, and then it's like no one even gets it. That's the start of the buildup. The Rumble comes. Taker makes a surprise entrance. Fans lose their mind. Bray's music hit. What was I gonna say? Bray's music hit. Taker gets eliminated. So basically, all this is the legitimate buildup, and you can't get pissed about this because the legitimate buildup of, and of course, fanboys are gonna be mad, but it's a legitimate buildup of the turnover. Like he's passing it over. So where, of course, come Mania, those guys beat each other to a living pulp, and then Bray Wyatt actually gets the pin in the middle of the ring, where it's like we built this up that much, where it was a mental game, where it's like that's how Bray beat Taker, because he beat him in every mental game, where it's like, hey, there's now a new sheriff in town.
That's true. No, that would have made sense, especially then also too, if they would have pummeled Kane.
There we go.
Beat,
that would have been that. Yeah, that could have been the Wyatt family could have destroyed Kane at That could have been the match at the Rumble. It could have been it could have been one of the Wyatt family guys wrestle Kane at the Rumble because of course Kane, hey, you're not gonna mess with my brother, and then we're gonna mess with you. We kick his ass. So and then it worked too. It would have worked too because then Bray Wyatt could have beaten Taker, right? Beat Taker, and you see the same crap they did when they took Taker away, like how they took him away. And then how Survivor Series, it was the Wyatt family versus Kane and Undertaker, and Kane and Undertaker literally eliminated them at ease. Yeah.
That would have been a great build-up for Survivor Series because then you bury the brothers. You are taking over as the new Kane and Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? You're the new Kane and Undertaker. You're literally just eliminating or just doing your own sacrificial sacrifices to everyone. And then before Survivor Series, Undertaker and Kane come back from the ground. Because, or come back from whatever you buried them or wherever you took them. And then by their supernatural powers, they can try to take you back, or, they can either win or you can still show where the new Kane and Undertaker. Either way. Yeah. That's, like you said, that would have been a great build-up right there.
Yeah, that would have been good. Yeah. Because going back to Nitro mentioning the Goldberg and Taker match that was, I think, earlier this year. I'm trying to forget that match because it was so bad. I'm sure you guys are too.
It was like last year. It was, yeah.
Super Show was this year. It was this year.
Oh yeah, the last Super Show. Okay. Yeah. It just takes me back to thinking, well, we all agree, I think, Brock shouldn't have been the one to break the streak, or at least have the streak remain intact to his very, very last match, retire, like he did with Roman, fold up the robe, the boots, the gloves, and the hat, and then leave the ring, implying that he's done with, or it's no point no more at this time. So, I still think Sting could have been a probable choice to threaten the streak.
I forget about that. Yeah. I mean, granted, of course, we all know there's no way in hell a WCW guy is going to retire a WWE guy. We just know because no matter what, the war's been over now for how long, and they're still throwing their shots. But anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That was another thing that kind of got me when now going back in time. I'm like, wait a second. Sting comes back 2014, right, to help basically Team Authority lose. He comes back because I guess he's going to go up against Triple H. But like I said, if he was going to have Sting lose to Triple H, which mind you, I felt was a bad decision because I was like, what? Yeah. Like, why?
No way in hell. No way in hell. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they should have had him go up against Undertaker, because if Undertaker to beat Bray Wyatt, like you said, and not even have the torch pass. If he was going to have Undertaker beat somebody, had him beat Sting. That was the perfect line. That was the perfect lineup to have them two go at it, because Taker was still good and he was still decent, and Sting could have carried Taker because Sting is really good in the ring. He could have carried Taker, all right, he can hold off, Taker, we could take it, I could take it right here with you, he could lead him, especially because Taker was looking hurt at the time. He could have let the match, and it's
very true.
You had Triple H lose. I mean, you had Triple H go against Sting. Mind you, I'm like, if it's I feel like it was still a shot or diss to them, because Sting is supposed to be the Superman of WCW.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you know what?
Superman
no.
of WCW.
Yes and no. No, if you really do think about it, Sting was WCW's Undertaker, and the reason why I say that, he was the company guy. He wasn't the guy that came over from the WWF or whatever. No, he was with WCW off the rip. That's why they said it was monumental for him to wrestle Ric Flair in the last match, because it was like, yo, these are the guys who really was about the company. They were about the company. That's why if you really think about it, that match would have made even more sense for Taker and Sting to go at it, because it's like, they would have made more sense for Taker and Sting to go at it, because it's like, hey, basically the two biggest I guess you want to, I guess, influence, if that's the best word to describe them. Like the two godfathers of their promotion. Because at the end of the day, the Undertaker is not The Rock, Hogan, Austin, or Cena. He is not that guy, but he's the godfather. Just like Sting was not, I guess, Goldberg, Hogan, Nash to some degree. Who was a big WCW? But basically, you get my point. No, Flair wasn't. Flair was shitted on a lot. Booker T was the he was the later half when WCW was on his down, which is really annoying. It's like, yeah, here's a choice because we're dying anyway. It's like, oh, okay, that sucks. But that's Booker. That's Booker's. That was him. But anyway, but like I said, those guys weren't it. Everyone loves, of course, everybody loves the whole Taker and Sting because they both represent the exact same thing. They're for their respective brands. So that's why I was like, that was perfect. Those guys definitely should have been those two. And then of course I wouldn't have been mad whatsoever for Taker to go over on Sting at Mania. I mean at Mania. And because think of it like this. Taker and Sting were the admirals of their soldiers and their fleet. Who won the war? So who better to get their hand raised than the general of his army and the admiral of his fleet, which is the Undertaker, representing Team WWF.
Yeah,
exactly.
No,
Would have been like,
and that's what I'm saying, like
North versus South.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because WCW was wrestling. Yeah. It was wrestling, so that would have been great. That's why I'm like, when I knew that Taker was going to be at Mania at that time, I'm like, why didn't they put him against Sting? That was a perfect.
I don't know if there's any backstage politics or anything that caused it. I don't know, but
that was like perfect. And then it's like Bray Wyatt. I'm like, shoot, for all of that, you should have just had Bray go against Triple H. Then if you wanted Bray to lose, then
Triple H would have still got his offer feeling important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like mess with Triple H's family, mess with Stephanie, mess with Vince, bother them, show them, basically do the Undertaker gimmick with them. Then I mess with your family,
they could have recycled a whole bunch of shit. Where to, Stephanie?
Yeah, and you could have still done the same thing that they did with Triple H and Sting, like have DX run out, have NWO run out too with Taker. Just have all oh my God, DX could ran out and save Taker.
So what you could have done with that, oh man, now thinking about it, you could have had DX do the Bray Wyatt thing because you got the Wyatt family, so that still would have made sense. And then the Taker match, that's when it would have been like, okay, he could have had the Brood come out. He could have had not the Brood. I'm sorry. He could have had the Ministry come out. So he could have had had the Phenom Ministry of Darkness music hit, and you could have. Hey, give Gangrel a decent payday. So you get Gangrel because he could still work. I mean, no one's taking a bump. Everyone's just punching each other. Or you could have had Viscera's already dead at this point, right? So APA with the thing on their chest. You could have had that nostalgic feeling, like, oh shoot,
Yeah, that's something you could have worked that out because it's like, you could have that right there could have been a great setup, even for a WrestleMania, or even in the Survivor Series, you know what I'm saying? But if being that we're sitting at that WrestleMania, that right there would have been a main event for itself. I feel that match would have basically paid everybody in the WWE because it's like, Taker was, like I said, when he went against Bray, you could tell he was slowing down, but he still was keeping up. You know what I'm saying? He was still keeping up. And then even Sting, like I said, Sting out of them two would have been the better performer because Sting was still flexible when he was playing Triple H. So he was very much more flexible. So if it would have been Sting and Taker at that time, Sting would have had the better of Taker because he was still more flexible. He was still able to. He was still more athletic and stuff. He still could have definitely performed. He was Seth Rollins. I'm like, it's so mad. I can't even watch that match because that's the match that ended Sting's career. So even it's so funny is when I watched that match that day, that night, I knew something was wrong with Sting. I'm like, something is wrong with Sting because he just was stumbling. I'm like, oh my God, Seth. This is when Seth was just hurting everybody. That's why I was kind of like, yo, Seth, you dangerous. He ended Sting's career. he hurt
He
Finn Balor.
He heard Finn Balor. Yeah.
Like, it was like, yo, you been watching match with this man at that time, and he not hurt nobody.
Yeah, and I think that definitely slowed him down because you realize they was like, okay, we're gonna pump the brakes on this kid because you hurt two guys. But
yeah, you hurt a legend and basically the first Universal Champions and a WCW legend. It's like, yo, bro, you need to chill.
Yeah, no, it's honestly, but that's what I'm saying, man. I sometimes like if I really wish I could book some of these cards because I'm just like. I just feel like the only thing, to my opinion, I'm like, it's got to be backstage politics. I'm like, you guys got the world in your friggin' hands. You can like do better. That's the thing that kills me. Like sometimes they act as if their hands are so tied, or if I don't know if they're just stroking somebody's ego to just make them feel better. I don't know. I don't get it. But yeah, that just
And I don't know, just bringing that up now with Seth. Funny enough, he injured Finn and ended Sting's career, unfortunately. Do you think he'd be an asshole if? With the Monday Night Messiah angle now, he brings those two up and kind of like uses it to rub it in our faces like, I did it. I ended their careers.
No, that screams WWE. I'm surprised they have yet to do that. WWE loves controversy. WWE, man, they'll take, I mean, for God's sakes, ask Matt Hardy and Edge. Like, they'll take some personal shit that should not be known and not only put it out, but turn it into a damn gimmick.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. Turn into a work.
I wouldn't be surprised if they would turn it into a work. I wouldn't be, but it's like, but then again, it's like it goes back according to how they will feel personally. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody like how Sting would feel personally about it, and who knows how Finn would feel personally about it. Because ever since then, Finn has not had an opportunity to go after the world title again. I mean,
they put a bunch, which I ain't gonna lie to you. I've said this many times. I've always said, yeah, my dream is win the tag titles with you on, in a WWE stage, especially ideally if we could, like WrestleMania, win the tag titles with you at WrestleMania and, have like cement our legacy as a tag team. And then when it's like, hey, what else is left for us to do? Do the typical split, whether they either make us feud against each other or you go to Raw, I go to SmackDown, whatever. Win the Rumble, win the strap. After I've done all of that, I would, and if it's still about, I would not blame them for like what he's doing now. Is go to NXT because one, you get to wrestle the way you want to wrestle. You can still make a living doing what you love. It's like, hey, yeah, I would love to make millions of dollars, but hell, if I'm clearing the 100,000s, I'm like, cool, to do what I love, and I don't even got to travel as much because I'm not in the main roster. Sign me up any day of the week.
This is true. Yeah.
So
sign me up. I'm like you said, I get to wrestle the way I want to, and plus I don't got, man. Yeah, that's that.
Yeah, seriously, I'm like, I'll take that opportunity. So that's why I don't blame him. Like people try to, it's like like of course to the non-smart fans, they like, oh, they downgraded him to this. I'm like, dude, that's probably the best thing he could wish for. I mean, he won the world title. Like at the end of the day, granted, it's not the reign I'm quite sure he wanted, but at least he got it. He can always say, hey, I'm a world champion. So
yeah,
he was Universal champion, right?
Well, Universal champion. He wasn't the WWE champion.
Right.
Yeah, he was Universal champion. He was literally the first Universal champion.
Yeah.
But you guys are first tag team champions for AEW. That's still big.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We go.
When
you look up the history, the first seems to appear as ours.
Exactly. I mean, taking it back now, I think, fantasy booking wise, we can all say that Sting Taker would have been the epitome of, and probably would have been maybe not the last match for Taker, because I think he'd still have to beat Sting, or creative wouldn't let that, go down. Sting beating Taker of all things.
Oh, no, I would. I feel like for that to ever happen, Taker would have had to politic, like, look, let him go over. Like, or he'd have to do his own WrestleMania screw job. Like, Sting pin him and he doesn't kick out intentionally. And they're like, 3, ring the bell. Just to say the message.
I can see Vince right now. Look, this is Vince McMahon way, because he watches everything. And say he has a big old headset and say that happen. He goes, God damn it, what the hell?
Fucking spot on impression. Yep. He would have thrown the shit out that head to like.
What the fuck?
Or come back like he did at one match. What was it? A Rumble? And he comes down. Start the damn
tore
match.
both his quads.
Yes, I don't understand. I remember when we watched it that night. I was like, what happened to him? He just sit there.
He just sat down like he shitted himself. Like, oh. I was like,
y'all didn't know what to do. They was looking like, what? Like, start the match. Then no, ignore me being here.
Like, I'm not here. All right, you guys don't see me. See you see me. All right, just start the damn match. But definitely should not have been. Shouldn't have been. The perfect person, like I said, was because I remember thinking that when Braid and Taker won that, I was like, this is the guy who should have ended the streak. But I again could constantly tell that.
I mean, no matter what, to the end of time, the wrestling dies out, man. You know, who knows how long that would be? Because I feel wrestling will forever be here to bleed on a great rant, like forever. But it's always going to be misbooking opportunities, like
I mean, but the ones you can live with is for like okay, let's say they did book it this way. They say they did book it this way. God forbid, Braid tears something, so you can't compete at WrestleMania. You can at least live with that because you're like, God damn it, what the fuck? That shouldn't have happened. But hey, no one. That's like because of crazy circumstances. That's my point versus them just like, no, we're just going to be morons and not book it correctly because we're D-bags. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
But one thing I hate, though, about, like, one thing, like you said, like, going back to booking-wise and like you said, build-up, I hate the right build-up and a terrible match. And then I hate a wrong build-up and a great match. Because, like, it's happened plenty of times where there's no build-up to a match and the matches be great versus a build-up that's out this world that you can't wait, and the matches don't live up. Like Brock Lesnar and Goldberg.
2000, yeah. You know, it kills me. They were talking about. I watched a Ruthless Aggression thing. They were talking about, oh, they could have done anything. I'm like, yeah, they could have fucking wrestled. They're like, they could have done anything, and people would have still booed them. I'm like, no, you guys came out there, and we all knew what y'all were doing. Well, I knew Lesnar. It's funny. I never knew Goldberg was getting out. Like, I really. I remember watching it, and what the hell was I gonna say? Goldberg was getting a lot of heat, and I was in the dark. I was like, "What the hell? Why? What Goldberg did?" But now knowing, of course, after. But I knew Lesnar, of course, was leaving. But still, like those guys, I hate that they tried to downplay it, like if it was a bad, like if it wasn't. No, it was a terrible match. Like Goldberg can't work, we know that, but Lesnar can.
It was a terrible match, yes. But because the fans didn't know what was going on, knew what was going on for wrestling, like they still booed them off the stage. So even if they had a phenomenal match, they still would have been booed because they were like, "Oh, you leave it, so what's the point? Why you perform in it?" So it's like they like for them it was like damn if they do, damn if they don't. Because I felt they did have a great match, the fans would have still booed them regardless because they know they were both leaving.
Yeah, because they're leaving. Yeah, you're right.
So it didn't matter. I think it's just that match was just terrible overall. But even if they had a great match, fans would be like, "So what? You're leaving. Get out of here." Who cares?
and both of those, and to my opinion, both of those are two of the most selfish guys in the business. So you know damn well they're not gonna do whatever for the fans, especially a guy like Lesnar. Lesnar, we've known now, is no secret that guy's a fucking tool. So he's a selfish individual who's just in it for himself. Excuse me. Like he's not gonna, for and of course me, I take stuff like that personally because I love this and I love what I do, and it's not about like, oh, let me see what's a quick payday I can get. I need to get paid. It's like, no, this is you love this stuff and you see these people who are blessed with these opportunities who don't deserve it. I'm gonna say it a million times. You only got that because who you were in college wrestling. So
yeah,
you don't deserve it. You don't deserve it, and you shit on this. On what everyone before you sacrificed. That's why I was like, a part of me don't feel bad. And Mr. Perfect used to make you his bitch back in the day.
Oh yeah, Mr. Perfect. Yeah, Mr. Perfect. Like what he used to say. He's like, I'm gonna tell him to get my gym bag or something like that. I forgot what was like the thing he used to say. Like, I'm gonna make him get my gym bag.
Yeah. So I mean, granted, of course, it doesn't make it right. You don't need to be a dick to a kid for no reason. But it's like, unless if he had it written on him from day one, then it's like, hey, you had it coming. But
Not true. So
but as for Taker, Like, should he continue? Honestly, like like JT said at this point, like he should hang it up because it's like at this point, like it's gonna come to a point where he won't be able to even walk over the ropes. And it's like it's getting
I mean, that's
and
what
it's
I was
getting
saying
to
earlier
some
too.
like even
When Taker came out during that last Saudi match, like he could barely get AJ, who's like barely 10 pounds over 200, if anything, up for a choke slam. That was all AJ getting himself up.
Oh wow! Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
I heard about that. Like he, the choke slam was so mediocre. Like it looked like the choke slam he gave to Hogan back in 02.
Like I'm just gonna push you.
Help me up, brother.
Yeah, like I'm just
brother, my hip, brother, I can't, brother, I can't.
Brother, yeah, right. Yo, HBK sidebar. HBK will be a legend forever for that promo, brother.
HBK to fucking go, man. Oh my god.
And the overselling when they finally
he like brother.
Man, that overselling, like that. Oh god, that's wrestling like royalty right there. But yeah, should he hang it up? To answer that question, definitely. I definitely feel like he should have, because we all know the tradition of wrestling. To hang it up, somebody's got to go over on you, and that's how you close it out. But I just feel like at this point, because of what Taker has done for the business can definitely afford him going out on his terms and going out on his terms and not having to play that game, because he just can't. It's like even if this Boneyard match is his last match, it's like, thank you for everything that you've done. You're not gonna hear me, and I think I'm pretty much a big fan of like the traditions of wrestling. You're not gonna hear me like, oh man, but you gotta go out the right way. Somebody's gotta go over. No, dude, your streak ended twice, so that's going out the right way. That you already took your L.
Exactly.
It was against the wrong guy, but you already took your L.
So I think we're all agreeing on this Boneyard match, at least for me and Nitro, as great as it was, in our opinions, should be the swan song, if anything. Last match, thank you, Taker. That's it. Take your ball and leave.
Yeah, the reason why I say I agree, I don't like it the way the match was, off the strength of they could have done everything exact same, kept it the same style, the fighting, whatever. I just didn't like the cinematic, side of it. But I definitely feel like why I think it's dope and Taker should retire, because he looked strong. We forget how his deficiencies. So I definitely think that should have been it, because it's a great way to go out, because at least, like, let's be honest, we took a trip in the time machine and Taker looked amazing. So I would have been, as a fan, if I was at Mania or I'm watching it in my living room and Taker loses the match and the match was garbage, I'd be like, I don't want to watch a match feeling that way.
It kind of reminded me of, I don't know if you guys watched all the Rambos. I've watched all of them except the last one that came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were pushing it. One was the best one because it got mental. It was like implied with the killing, what he's seen before. Rambo actually went and did his thing with the police and all that. 2 was kind of buying into the gimmick, like more killing, more violent. 3 was just out there with like political messaging and extremely violent. There was a guy that recapped it in some film review I watched, like he windmill kicked a guy into an open hole. He fell into a cave with a noose around his neck, a rock at the end. So when he dropped down to the bottom of the hole, his neck snapped. The rock would have fell on him eventually, but then he was rigged with like explosives, so he blew up on top of that. So it was like excessive, ain't the word in that case. And then there was Rambo in 2008, which is just like he was shooting up guys and turning them into like jelly pudding, pretty much, or grape jelly. It was like over the top, but it kind of capped at that point. It was like, okay, this is good enough. You somehow salvaged it. Let's leave it at this. But then they did last year's Rambo, which got all kind of bad reviews, overdid it. Stallone's already 70 plus and still doing this thing, which no one's going to buy it because, you know, who's stiffer? Like the writing of his face at this point. So I think Swan Song is the Boneyard match. There isn't anything else he can do beyond this. Like, okay, this is good. Thank you. Just stop right here. You have nothing.
No,
to
yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. But then it's like, if Taker wanna, that's what, like you said, if he wants to do it again, I'm like, listen, man, this is gonna be Rambo, like you said last year. So you either want to go with, if you're gonna go down, you better go down good. If you want to go up, you're gonna have to like pull whatever magic trick you have in that hat.
There is. You can't cheat your body unless if the man starts taking like steroids and stuff that's gonna, you know, give him more time. And I don't even know how it affect him at this age, and that's not legal. There's many reasons why you can't do that.
HGH.
So I just feel like, yeah, you know. So it's just like, unless if he can get some type of enhancement like that just for that one night, at this point, man, it's like, dude, you either like, you gotta go. You have to. And if you don't, then you're gonna, if you don't, it's gonna leave you, and you're not gonna like it. Cause he already said it. Like, if you, like I said, you know, before we got on live, he already said it at his, oh my goodness, on his documentary. Like, he doesn't want to be the guy where, like, his, you know, where, like, let's say if I'm at the show with my daughter and I was like, and she's like, oh, you know, she's looking at him like, you know, I tell her, baby girl, you should have seen him back X amount of years ago. He said he doesn't want to be that guy. And I'm like, you are, dude. Like, you are at this point, man.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, there's nothing to be ashamed of, man. You've had a WWE career for 30 years, because people fail to realize you've worked before then too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people fail to realize he's worked in territories also.
Yeah.
So he's basically been wrestling for over 30 years. So it's like, it's okay, man. Just call it, dude. Just call it.
And he had the luck of having a character he could live his whole career, a majority of his career with, and just retire unblemished. Everybody loves it, buys into it. It's still heralded, you know. The gong hits, boom, lights go off. You jump on his seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, definitely.
I definitely think it's definitely the time for him to call it and be like, okay, man, you're done. You had this Boneyard match. People like I said, the only reason, my only gripe with it is just the cinematic portions. That's it. Like, I'm like, okay, why did that make it to a movie? Other than that, everything else was just, you know, I just personally, like I said, if I could completely talk about everything, I would, first of all, my opinion is WrestleMania should have waited. WrestleMania is too big. Obviously, it's been going on for what, we forget, what are we at now? 36? WrestleMania 36? Yeah. You know, it's been going on for 36 years. It's like, it's that important. You have to wait. You gotta wait. You need people there. You need that WrestleMania moment, because like I keep saying all the time, it's like I keep saying all the time, there would have been no moment like that WrestleMania moment for the music to hit and for him to drive that bike down that stadium and just have the crowd go nuts. And then, like, literally, it could have been he gives AJ one, give him a line out the ring, and then, like, the match is, he walks around beating his ass. No bumps involved, no grappling, no nothing, just a straight fight. And it's like, we saw how he looked good. He looked good doing it. So, you know, so it's like, okay, you could have done that. That's my only thing. That's my two issues with the match. Not feeling like, oh, the match is terrible. I just didn't care for the cinematic thing, and then I wanted that moment. Just, you know, like, I'm a fan. I'm a work and a fan also. And to hear his theme that we haven't heard in what, 17 years now? What's on 04, 16 years now? We haven't heard in that, you know, for that to hit and just have everyone go nuts, you know.
Yeah.
So to cap things off, we kind of really touched a lot on Taker, pause. And retrospective of the Boneyard match, the career, and, you know, you guys, of course, have the insights as wrestlers yourselves to really give a well-informed opinion, because you got to buy into the character, the promos, the act, the lifestyle, everything too. But to end, why not ask the question, I guess, that everybody asks as long as they're a Taker fan, or even just a wrestling fan in general. Your favorite version of Taker would be, and I'll start it off, if you don't mind, I'll go with the old Taker, the very first Taker we got introduced to. Hair in the face, every match somehow still, never moved, gray gloves, 1 or 2 tattoos on the arms before he went full sleeves on both, and just like dead guy, like looked to the urn to get his strength back, undefeated for a while, even with that horrible match at WrestleMania 9 with Giant Gonzalez too.
Oh,
Still, like that to me is the epitome of Taker. Like, even though it's 90s, corny-ish, whatever, it's the one that set things off and kind of set in stone who we became. Just evolved from there.
I'm gonna go next. For me, it is 2007 to 2010 Taker, because that's when I was watching it all the time and on SmackDown. And for me, the reason why I say that is because, like, personally, I feel that with I like watching, like I said, I didn't watch it live, so I can't comment, but being a historian, I really enjoyed the Ministry of Darkness Taker, because I mean, sheesh, like we said, dude probably have to repent after every show. but I really enjoyed it because it was mind blowing. It was mind blowing. He took it to the next level. He did all of that stuff, and it was crazy. But I felt watching it that they didn't know what to do with him, because it was like they didn't really give him a lot of moments. Like, come on, your moment as boss man at Mania, and yeah, you had the stuff with Austin, but it kind of like it just, that was as far as it went. He didn't like, I guess, take it around with it. So then I'm just going deep into why each version of Taker I wasn't too, what my flaws I found with it. And then American Badass Taker, I enjoyed it, but I feel that, my opinion, I feel that he was working too hard to try to like get this gimmick over, because he knows what the Phenom gimmick did for him. So he was still trying to work it, and I felt that the WWE didn't really give him, like, they were trying, because it was like, I think kudos to him, because for him to change his gimmick at such a dangerous time, because you got Austin and Rock like on fire, Triple H too, like you got these guys on fire, and then you're gonna change a gimmick that made you in this time. Good luck. So that was very, but still, it wasn't that he didn't have those moments. I feel like everything was just like let's see if this works, let's see if that works. So for me, like I said, 2007 Taker to like 2010, it felt as if they finally got it. He's got the titles, he's got the matches, he's has all those moments, from him wrestling, like his rivalry with Edge, his rivalry with Batista, like that match, I remember Batista at WrestleMania, that rivalry with him and Edge, and then him retiring Shawn, like those, he had all those moments. So that's why I say that those years Taker for me. All right, Soup, you got it. You got the next one.
Well, okay, because like me personally, like I go off the strength of when I first saw Taker was at Judgment Day of 2000. So when he had Kid Rock into the Roland, I like those because, like you said, for me personally, I didn't feel like he was trying to force being the new Taker. Like you said, it was like more so maybe into 2000 when he turned heel. That's when he was trying to be a different Taker. Like that's when the Big Evil came out. But before that, when he was the American Badass, he seemed cool because he's like, even though he was face, it was like he felt like he didn't really have to do much because it's like his choke slam. Yeah, his choke slams and his like last rides was getting him over because it's like, okay, I'm still the baby face, I don't have to do much, I could still be, my Taker persona could still work. It was once he did turn heel, it was like he was I still liked it, I still enjoyed it, but the heel didn't last long for him because, like you said, from that point it was like he was trying too hard. So
yeah, it really felt that way.
When he was heel, it was like it was minimum because he turned heel like what, December of 2001. and then it lasted until like June, because then he turned face when he technically, I don't think he realized, but he turned face when he faced Test, because that's when everybody was cheering him. So he only had like a 6-month heel run, which wasn't too much, because I was watching his match against Stone Cold of '02, and it kind of bored me a little bit, because it was just a bunch of, like, even though they were brawling, but it was like, I don't know, it just was like when you, like you said, when you
he didn't seem like he seemed like he was still figuring things out. And like I said, for me, those years, that's why I said my time frame. It seemed like he just had things so polished. Like, it's like, I don't know if he went to train again or something, or got a fire lit under him or something. It's like, I'm like, okay, he looked so much sharper in the ring, and but
he was in his best shape from like 06, 07 to, like you said, like 2010. He was like in his best shape. He was like 299, and I remember, but he was like cut and ripped. So it was like he was in his best shape from those years. So that's why it was like you said, Mary, that's why he like looked so like good at those points, because he was literally like in shape. And then you can tell he slowed down once, like you said, after Shawn Triple H, you could tell he was slowing down a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because after he wrestled Triple H, that's when he just was like, it was like, okay, whatever. Like, he started kind of putting on the weight again. He came back 2015. He was, again, you could tell he put on weight. So from that point, he just was like, okay, he didn't care anymore. So, but for me, like I said, was when he came back as the American Badass, and then like his nice little run, because like, again, that was my introduction to Taker. You know what I'm saying? That was my first taste of Taker, because before that, I was going off of the past. Look, basically encyclopedias and history books. So when I first got to Taker, it was like, oh, just like for me and Kane. When Kane came back in 2000, that was, again, my first taste of Kane. So it was like, even Stone Cold. When Stone Cold came back, that was my first taste of Stone Cold. So Undertaker, and Stone Cold were introduced to me in 2001. No, 2000. I'm sorry, 2000, because that's when they all returned. So for me, it was like, oh, okay, this is me seeing these guys in action. But before, I was watching them on TV. I mean, watching
history lessons and stuff. Yeah.
So obviously, I was watching The Rock and Triple H, Kurt Angle, Benoit, them guys. So for me, it was like, okay, I know these guys. I'm learning these guys. So to see the other popular heads like, Undertaker, Kane, and Stone Cold, especially Stone Cold, it was good seeing Stone Cold wrestle. Because I'm like, oh, again, I was just watching history videos. But again, keep dragging it out. For me, Undertaker from like early 2000 to like mid 2001, 2002, after Invasion. Because then, like I said, the heel thing, his heel run was kind of up, but then I liked his Big Evil from like when he turned face until like he was buried alive and then came back. So the mid 2000s, the early 2000s, I liked it.
That's cool. All right, so it's different takes, different eras of who you prefer Taker-wise, and Taker or Leave It is the name of this episode number 2, of course, of My Friend Kama the Wrestler. Who this here, of course, down there in the video you'll see is Supa Nitro himself. And along for this episode, he tagged in his brother of all people, my friend the wrestler, his brother's JT Riddick, of course, from a remote location, or parts unknown, as Howard Finkel would have said. I love when he hit that note, from parts unknown.
Reigning NEW tag champs over here.
By the way, please emphasize that. Yes, you both holding up the titles as you should. Oh, JT, did you just give that a shine or something before you got on, or?
I don't know. I can't disclose that. I think that's just how I keep my title.
But it's good. You got the gold. And by the way, for anyone asking or ever curious, fan-wise, those are pretty heavy belts.
Yes.
Yeah, they are. They're not the lightest things.
So to imagine getting hit like you would back in the day with a belt in the face, it would probably hurt and leave a dent or a mark at most.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Depends on who's swinging it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, thank you guys again both so much for coming out here today. Well, by video, of course, for today's episode. Deep diving on Taker. Everything else coming up, too. We'll hit you back up with another episode, everybody out there. Please feel free to plug away Supa and JT Riddick as much as you can, whatever else you got going on. I'll just get mine out of the way real quick first. Who this is on Instagram, who this on Twitter. Something Spectacular is a podcast I do on my own alongside Hefe. We do the Mighty Healthy podcast where we first had Nitro and Riddick on too, of course. No stranger to that. This will go up on the YouTube channel of mine, Who This Is 1, WHODISSIS #1 on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do everything you got to do. Take it away, boys. Plug away.
Of course, catch me, Supa Nitro, on Instagram as _Supa Nitro, and on Instagram and Facebook is just Gersh Ortiz, and then you can find my Nitro page over there also. And whenever it's been working out, whenever this quarantine is over, I'm ready to get back in the ring.
For me, you can find me on Twitter at the only JT Riddick. Instagram, the same, the only JT Riddick, and Facebook, JT Riddick. So it's Riddick is spelled Riddick, and same thing. We're just anxious, just waiting for the next show, waiting to defend these titles and bring them back home and just keep everyone happy. But of course, the most important thing is social distancing, and just staying safe, staying clean, staying sanitized. Because the faster we do that, staying healthy, the sooner we do that, we beat this thing, the sooner we can get in the ring and do what we do best, and that's kick ass and take names.
My MO, I'm steady fighting failure. Remember where I was at when Tower 7 fell? I don't think that was a danger to mankind, and now they face a hell in a cell. Going to see the Undertaker if it's a chance that he tell.